Good afternoon, everyone. I see that we have a quorum. I'd like to call our meeting to order. First order of business is adopting the meeting agenda. And in connection with adopting that agenda, there are two spelling corrections on item C2. It's Ned Lesmore, not Ned Lesmore. And item C3, it's a Zentangle art class, Z-E-N, rather than a Zantangle art class. Other than that, do I have a motion to adopt the agenda? Moved by Herm Herman, seconded by Herm Hess.
Just a question on there were noted some changes in numbering and down on items A and B and 10A and B. Am I the only one that caught that?
You're just talking about the pages in our packet, not the numbers of the items themselves.
Well, yeah. The numbering, yeah.
The items are correctly listed, they're just not the right reference for your packet material. All in favor of adopting the agenda? The agenda is adopted. Item number 3 is the members' open forum. We have a gentleman down here in front on his wheels that wanted to be the first one to talk. Can you give him the microphone, please, Kathy?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Can you hear me? Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Robert Personette, and I live at 7136 Oak Leaf Drive in this beautiful community known as Oakmont. I want to thank the committee for keeping Oakmont as nice as it is. I know of no other place I would rather live. I've lived here 10 years, coming from New Jersey on the East Coast, of course. This winter is just marvelous. But getting to the point, I am totally disabled American veteran. And the only thing I'm asking is if we could provide better access, entrance and exit to the East Rec Pool, the new locker room that was just done. I cannot go in because there is no electric door. If there's no one around to open the door for me, I cannot go in. And once I'm in, if there's no one to open the door, I cannot come out. So that is a real problem, not just for Bob, but for any person who has a handicap disability. So I would greatly appreciate if the OVA could install electric doors so we can really fully enjoy the shower, the locker room, the restroom. It would be a great advantage for all of us. And just to give you another point, this locker room right here, this restroom right here, I tried to get in today and I crash landed and I've broken all my basket up here. Luckily I wasn't hurt because there's no electric door for a handicap to get in and out. And I'm sure, not being handicapped yourselves, which I'm very happy for, you don't realize how important something as simple as this is to anyone who is handicapped. So whatever consideration that the OVA committee can give me, I would be greatly appreciative. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for your comments.
Susan Millar, 373 Greenfield Circle. Some of you may be getting a petition in your email or see it somewhere It's in regard to the Ledson property that's just down the road from us. There's an explanation there about what's going on. It's a petition that we're being asked to sign by some of the residents that live down there. And I hope that you will read it and I hope that you will sign it, because it's going to impact Oakmont, and it's important to us to know what's going on down there. So if you get that petition in your email, take a look and inform yourselves, and I would ask you to sign it. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Ingeborg Tiske, 7009 Fairfield Drive. Mr. President, members of the board, fellow Oakmonters. I understand there's a petition being circulated regarding a children's playground. I hope it gets withdrawn before you have to waste your time with it. Some years ago, Ollie Schill worked very hard to do away with the proposed playground in the Ainoka village next to Oakmont. And now one wants one inside Oakmont, will be the laughing stock of City Hall. The new office building is too expensive, but the liability insurance for a playground is not. Is this what people meant by first things first? The ones who signed that petition probably moved to Oakmont prematurely. Last time I looked, Oakmont is an active adult community and not a kindergarten, honestly. Thank you.
I'm Tony Lockowitz, Bellhaven Place, and I'm speaking as the chairman of the Oakmont Long Range Planning Committee. I just wanted to announce or remind people that we recently completed 2 more sections of our long-range plan for Oakmont. The new plan documents that are currently available, first one is the section on community appearance and setting. This looks into the beauty of Oakmont and where we live in this environment around us, what we're doing to preserve our beauty and what challenges there are for the future. The second document available is a summary of the Keep, Stop, Start exercise. If you remember last month in the CAC lobby, there was a suggestion box asking people to give us written comments on what they wanted to keep, what they liked about Oakmont, what they wanted to stop, what they don't like about Oakmont, and what they wanted to start a new initiative, a new idea for the future of Oakmont. We received 183 suggestions. They've been summarized, and that summary is available actually it's in this week's Oakmont News. There's a more detailed summary on the OVA website, and for those of you who don't have computers or don't like to use them, there's a paper copy also available in the Oakmont Library. These new elements join completed elements that we've been working on in the recent past, including a plan outline, the section on open space and recreation, a community profile and history, a mission and vision statement for Oakmont, and also a summary of the public forum that we had on January 29th over at East Rep. So this is just a reminder to let you know these documents are available. We invite you to look at them, and we always welcome your comments, questions, should you have them. We would like to proceed with our plan. Our target date is a completion by the end of 2014. And so far, we've made pretty good progress, and we thank those of you who have already provided your input. Thank you.
Thanks for your work, Tony.
Eleanor Brodnansky, Oakmont Drive. I just want to give an update on what's going on outside these doors over here. I was down here this morning, and they're starting the planting However, you should know that this is dormant season still, so don't expect beautiful flowers, and it's going to take a few weeks before everything's in full regalia. So anyway, I'm excited about the completion of this plaza, and by the end of the month, they should start on this section. Just an update.
Thank you, Ellen. Any more open forum comments? Thank you all. If we can go to the item 4, would you mind starting out with the summary of the executive meetings?
Yeah, there are a number of meetings to cover. The first is the executive session is held February 13th, at which all the board members except Mr. Kaiser were present, along with Ms. Cassie Turner and myself. It convened at 1:30. The first matter was a discussion of personnel issues regarding workloads, job descriptions, and core competencies of staff, and how to maximize efficiency. The second was discussion of the Volunteer of the Year Award and Service Award, and with consideration of possible nominees. Third item was discussion of 2 architectural violations, at which, in both cases, further discussions and efforts to try to resolve the matter informally were going to be pursued. The fourth item was further discussion of the administrative office issue, at which the estimated cost for construction of administrative offices at the Berger Foundation building were discussed, and at which time the board came to the conclusion that it was better to pursue that option, more prudent to pursue that option than to continue at the moment for pursuing the other options with CBC. The meeting adjourned at 3:40 p.m. The second meeting, executive session meeting I'm discussing here, was on February 18th, at which everyone attended, including Cassie Turner and myself. It was called to order at 3:05 p.m. The same 2 architectural violations were discussed as before. Further discussions will be pursued in one case, and in the other, a letter will be sent to the violator demanding compliance with the CCNRs or threatening legal action. Further discussion regarding a couple of contracts with one of the contractors involved in the efforts to put together the plans for the CBC that were considered moot or therefore going to be canceled. Discussions regarding the annual meeting, at which simply decided that the notice and the agenda would be sent out. The discussion of management facilities reports, at which the reports both by Manager Turner and by Mr. Felton were discussed. Both were felt to be valuable and should continue, and will be routinely posted on the website. Further discussion of Volunteer Recognition and Service Award, further discussion of possible nominees. The meeting is adjourned at 4 p.m. Next session was an executive session special executive session on Friday, February 21st. It was at present at that were John Felton, Fran Diaz, Herm Herman, and Herm Hess. Also present were Attorney Malcolm Manuel, and by conference call, Association Manager Cassie Turner and Executive Administrative Assistant Kathy Doherty. The Vice President Felton presided over the meeting that began at 10 o'clock, and a discussion was had regarding the publication policies regarding the Oakmont News, and some discussions and decisions were made as follows. The motion was duly made and seconded by Herm Hess and Fran Diaz that the board unanimously allow equal access in the March 1st edition of Oakmont News to all candidates with inserts to be paid by OVA. A motion was duly made and seconded by Herm Herman and Fran Diaz that the board voted unanimously that the board authorize the following statement by the board of directors be published in bold in the Oakmont News as follows. The OVA is a private recreational organization which provides equal access to all. The OVA has a long-established practice of providing OVA board candidates with equal access to the Oakmont News and use of OVA facilities. A further motion was duly made and seconded by Mr. Herman and Fran Diaz. The board voted unanimously that it will develop a specific public publishing procedure policy for the Oakmont News and for the insertion of ads in the same publication. The second item on the agenda was the discussion of recognition of resident groups, and there was discussion as to the legalities with Attorney Manuel regarding the standards by which they must recognize or not such groups. Okay. The third session was March 11th, another special executive session of the board. At that one, which was called at 10 a.m., all the directors were present, plus Secretary Helm, Associate Manager Kathy Turner, and Attorneys Les Perry and Malcolm Manuel. Okay, first item on the, and only item on the agenda was the Berger Foundation building on Stonebridge Road, at which the board and the attorneys discussed the parameters, strategy, and other issues related to the efforts by OVA to acquire the subject building. On motion made and seconded by Jim Kaiser and Herm Herman, the board authorized Attorney Perry to undertake a determination of the feasibility and estimated cost for the various steps necessary to make that building usable as an office space for OVA. And the board further authorized Association Manager Turner to contact the Berger Foundation and advise them of our intent to move forward with efforts to discuss purchase. That meeting adjourned sometime I didn't put down. Last item, the last was an special executive session on, I covered all? I'm on a roll, guys. I'm not ready to stop yet, but thank you, that's it.
Thank you, Hugh. That was an extensive set to summarize. The announcements that I have for today involve, first of all, reminding everyone that our annual meeting will be on Monday evening, the 7th of April, starting at 6:30 p.m. here in the Berger Auditorium, and it will be followed by refreshments. The next morning at 9 o'clock at the West Recreation Center, ballot counting will take place, and that will be followed at the West Recreation Center at 2 in the afternoon with the new board organizational meeting. And that bit of announcements gives me the opportunity to remind all of you that balloting has been underway since the 1st of March, and you have had 5 candidates to consider, and I'd like to introduce and remind you who those are today. Alan Scott. Alan, are you here? Bob Giddings. Thank you, Bob. Evelyn George, sitting to my left. Suzanne Cassell, at the back, and Andy Altman. Andy, thank you all. And that brings me to the point of asking you to join me in recognizing the fact that Jim Kaiser and Herm Herman are coming to the end of 4 years of service for us as hardworking presidents and vice presidents and directors. And I, for one, feel that we're going to miss the kind of input and energy that they have put into the work of the association. There's a more formal recognition of this at our annual meeting, but I just wanted to recognize they worked through the last of the executive sessions earlier today and are participating in our meeting, and I thank them both very much. I realize also that Evelyn George is coming to the end of a 2-year term and is also standing for re-election. But Evelyn, we appreciated your 2 years of service for us. Thank you very much.
John, I'd just like to comment. I don't plan to go away. I'm going to sit in the front row and kibitz all the time.
You've always been good at that, whether you were in the front row or up at the head table. My final announcement is that in the executive session today, the board discussed extensively the progress that we want to make regarding the West Recreation Center. The structural decisions for improvement of the West Rec have been addressed by several committees over the past several years on different levels. The final structural approach was approved by the board today and involves both the existing footprint of the men's and women's locker room and the seismic and structural corrections needed to the building's exterior. This permits us to immediately go out to bid for these structural improvements. And next week, the architect will provide easel boards and website posting materials so that residents can provide comments on the aesthetics of the project over the course of 30 days. This will give the board the desired input from the community along with the bid responses that will enable us to move forward with those rec center improvements as aggressively as possible. Item 5 on the agenda involves actions taken outside the board meeting. The first was the Burger Stage fireproofing. This was one of the essential safety improvements recommended by the Axis forensic report. And to avoid delays and to fit it into the Burger Auditorium's availability schedule so that that work could proceed without impacting any scheduled activities, the bid of Stanley Construction for $8,040 was authorized in consultation with the manager. The second action outside the board meeting involved approving the replacement of the heater, one of 2 heaters, for the central pool in the amount of $7,849.42. The heating equipment associated with the central pool, as with most of our pools, depends for normal and efficient operation on 2 heaters. One can do it, but it's more difficult and it ages the equipment faster. And so to avoid, or in order to permit moving ahead with that expeditiously, that was approved outside the board meetings. And
Mr. Chairman, I have a question in regard to the stage fireproofing. There seems to be mention in there that if there are obstructions underneath the stage, the present contractor will not be responsible for doing that. If it's going to interfere with his work, there will be costs involved with removing it. Are there provisions made at this time to handle that situation if it does arise?
yes, Mark Rogers, our maintenance manager, has worked that out with the contractor relative to materials that are regularly stored or placed under there that need to be removed so we can do the work during the time the auditorium is available, replaced so we can use the auditorium, and then further removed at another time.
Okay.
The next item on the agenda is the consent calendar. Do I have a motion to adopt the approval of the consent calendar?
I will move approval of the consent calendar. I have one question about it.
Let me get a second. Second for the consent calendar? Herm?
This is primarily to Kathy. In regard to all of the various, we continually have applications coming before us for recognition of new groups. We have a very detailed matrix as to how these are to be approved and the basis on which to be. Is this being used by our staff anytime one of these comes? Yes. Okay.
All in favor of adopting the consent calendar? Thank you. Approved. I'm sorry, I skipped one announcement. If we can go back up to that. I had asked John Felton to summarize some highlights of the maintenance activities that are underway. You have a copy of the complete report attached to your agenda. John, won't you go ahead with any highlights?
I'll just go over this briefly. At the East Rec Center, only a couple of tiny things have to be done as far as the locker room is concerned. It was a request that we put in a long horizontal grab bar in both the ladies and the men's ADA shower, and those are on order. we found that the completion of our heating and air conditioning, all the equipment was replaced. Ran into a little hitch. We found out that we could save quite a bit of money by doing some improvements to the ductwork, and that's going to be taking place shortly. I'm going to skip over the things we've talked about before. The outside shower is still on the a list of things to be done. You can look outside here. I don't really have to comment too much on the progress at our plaza. It's really coming along very well. In the central area, we were originally had planned to build a small building to house the switchgear, which is going to be replaced. All that stuff that's out there now within that tall cage is going to disappear and be cleaned up. But we found that we can save some money and do a better job by, instead of putting a cabinet inside of the building with the ability to protect the cabinet from the weather, just put a weatherproof cabinet there in the first place and eliminate the building. And all that still can be utilized when it's moved into its final location. So we're going to come out ahead on that. You notice that they're paving out here this morning. That's the new ADA parking area. It's opened up, and that's going to be restriped as the next step. There was a request for additional shades in the fitness center. They're on order. For those men who try to use the sauna, the timer there has failed, and it's on order, and will be in this later on this week. The central pool, one of the main heaters failed. They typically have a 3 to 5 year lifetime. This one was well into the end of its useful life, and it's on order. And when I wrote this, it stated it would replace within a few days. A few days have gone by, and it could be that it's already done. I don't know the answer for that, but it'll be today or tomorrow, I suspect. We've discussed the stage here already. As far as the West Rec is concerned, we discussed that also. That's moving along well. The fencing project is started, and it'll be completed shortly. And the new furniture for the pool everybody's been waiting for is in place. That's all I've got. Thank you.
John, you heard the gentleman's comments beginning in the open forum with
Yes, of
regard to
course.
the ADA inaccessibility at the shower area at the East Rec. Are there any plans to fix that?
Well, I can assure you that there will be now. I personally can't commit to when it'll be done, but, you know, it's right up there at the top of the list after what we've learned today.
I thought
So
it was already part of it.
No, that was never considered part of our ignorance.
You have the treasurer's report, please, Chuck.
For the month of February, we had revenue of $167,000 with expenses of $156,000, leaving us a surplus of almost $12,000. On a year-to-date basis, revenue of $334,000 with expenses of $308,000, leaving us a surplus for the 2 months of $27,000. The transfers to the funds were all equal to budget, and the cash and investments in the various funds: operating fund $855,000, asset replacement $1,102,000, capital improvement $1,360,000, and catastrophe $102,000, with a total cash balance of $3,419,000.
Any questions? Thank you.
Could I have the board accept the report?
Move accepted to the report from Herman. Accepted report. Seconded by John Felton. Thank you.
Hey, I'd also like to make a recommendation to the board.
I thought it was, thank you.
Okay, I'd still like to make a recommendation to the board regarding the 2013 operating surplus. The audit report was completed with no changes to the financial statement, and I suggest to the board to approve moving the 2013 operating surplus of $148,808 to the asset replacement fund.
moved by Jim Kaiser, that seconded by Evelyn George, that the operating surplus from 2013 of $148,808 be transferred to the asset replacement fund. Any discussion? Do I understand correctly then, Chuck, that if that motion is approved, that gets added to the $1,101,000?
Correct, yes. Obviously, the operating fund cash balance would be reduced by that amount as well.
You can't work at both.
I know, no.
All in favor? Thank you. Next, we have the manager's report. You have a copy. The audience have a copy attached to a copy of the agenda. Are there any items that you'd like to elaborate on there? Yeah.
I have one. I have an update about the town hall meeting with Susan Ford. It's going to be scheduled for May 29th, either at 6 or 6:30. And this meeting is going to be discussing the drought fire danger related to Annandale State Park. May 29th. And of course, we'll let everyone know well in advance. Again, remind them 2 or 3 times that we're going to have. Yes, we'll be in person.
Yes, Cassie, I have a question regarding your section aging in Oakmont. Do you have any additional information on those 2 items?
No, actually, I'm set up for a dialogue with the Panasonic Corporation later on this week on Thursday afternoon. So I'll have more information at that time. And also, let's see, Rachel Myro, we're missing a phone call. So probably by the next week, I'll have my
Any other comments or questions? Tony?
And Tony Lockowitz, speaking for the Long Range Planning Committee. Cassie, I think your idea of the interviews with the Oakmont tour guides is an excellent idea. People come and they go, they look at Oakmont, some of them stay and buy homes here, others go away, and we don't really know why. I think that that's something that we need to know for long-range planning purposes. I would also suggest maybe some outreach to realtors who do business in Oakmont. I know when I first came here to look at a house, I was given a tour, but the tour was by a realtor from McBride. And that realtor told me, showed me around and gave me all the information that I needed. But I don't know how many realtors give the information and how many of their potential clients stay. So possibly in conjunction with the tour guides, we could have a meeting or some kind of outreach with area realtors.
Good advice. I was going to bring that up to Long about what we're doing. And we've been able to, through the ASSIST program, Kelly told me that we are now able to find out the ages of everyone here in Oakmont. So she's finding out that information, and that's going to add quite a bit of information to our overall who lives here, who's moving in, that analysis.
Beverly Harris, Oakley Drive. Just like to clarify this statement here about additional space in request for the fitness center.
Can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
Now.
All right. So it says additional space has been requested for the fitness center. That's not quite correct. Originally, shades were requested, and they were installed by the company that we contracted with at the wrong spot on the wrong windows. So it's just a correction, not an additional request. Thank you.
She's talking about window shades in the fitness center. The next item on our agenda, item number 9, involves additional reports over and above what we have in the committee meeting minutes. And the first is Noel Lyons talking about pickleball. And hello, Noel Lyons. How are you, Anita?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm also on the ad hoc committee, and I'm giving the report on behalf of the ad hoc committee. Since committee members were appointed in November, the committee has met 6 times and made progress on several fronts. As of now, we can report that the shared use of Court 4 at East is working well. Tennis players are using Court 4 in spite of the striping for pickleball, and there are many times that tennis is being played on Court 3 while pickleball is being played on Court 4 without disruption. Pickleball continues to grow in popularity with as many as 25 players per day, straining the capacity of the 2 courts, which are currently available part-time. A census of senior communities in California and Arizona found a wide ratio of homes to courts, with newer communities tending to have more courts. The average is around 510 residents per court for California communities and 586 homes per court in Arizona. If we can build 6 courts in Oakland, we would have about 580 homes per court, in the range of a simple community. Search for possible locations for permanent courts in Oakland has been narrowed to 1. The area is east of the central pool, currently occupied by the putting green and horseshoe pits. A preliminary survey by contractors working with Mark Rogers indicates that it is very practical to regrade the site and create a level area of approximately 32,000 square feet. This would easily accommodate a multi-use recreation area centered around 6 pickleball courts, which would be more or less 1,200 square feet. So out of the 3,200 square feet, the pickleball area would be about 1,200 square feet. I'm sorry, 12,000. Yeah, 12,000 square feet. At least one of the courts would have an adjustable net to allow for the use of badminton or volleyball. Half-court basketball is also a possible activity in this area. Our next step is to survey the site and have the site markers set so that accurate bids can be solicited from multiple vendors. Mark has received one preliminary estimate that indicates the grading, paving, and finish work should not exceed $180,000. Once the scoping letter and bid requests are complete, we can develop more accurate numbers for presentation to the Finance Committee, the Board, and the community at large. Thank you very much.
I have a question.
Okay?
On the breakdown by Hardy, the contractor, that I think he's going to do, it refers to A/C 500 tons. What is A/C?
Is Mark here?
No.
Oh, okay. I don't have a copy of that.
Is that asphalt?
Yeah. I don't, yeah.
Page 42.
Whether or not that's asphalt. Oh, asphalt.
500 tons of asphalt.
Asphalt/concrete.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions of Anita? Thank you. We have an action item under item number 10 in our agenda, so we'll be coming back to the subject of pickleball later. 9B, we have under the Communications Committee report. I see Dutch Slick Lighter coming down here to talk about the Communications Committee.
I'm Dutch Lighter, Singing Brook Circle, sometimes known as Swinging Brook, home of OVA presidents, past presidents, and directors. And I'm the new chair of the OVA Communications Committee. Thank you for giving me time on your agenda to bring you up to date on the activities of our Communications Committee. Currently, there are 4 basic means for the dissemination of information in Oakmont. The Oakmont News, of course, is the official publication and serves as the principal means to convey OVA information and club reports to the residents. The newspaper was expanded last year to include local news and general interest features. This expansion was met with great approval by the readership. However, space constraints and publishing deadlines limit the effectiveness of the OM as a communications tool. The second means, the e-blast, originating from the OVA office, informs residents of upcoming board meetings, workshops, and meetings of special interest, as well as official announcements. But the e-blast has been minimally effective due to the very small number of subscribers. Third, the OVA website, oakmontvillage.com, was primarily designed for prospective buyers of Oakmont homes. Consequently, the designated pages for residents' use are password protected, they lack user-friendliness, and they're not easily navigated. The modification of the OVA site is expensive due to the fact that the software is proprietary and changes can only be made by the outside site manager. And fourth, of course, are the videos of board meetings that are streamed live and also recorded for residents on the internet. I must mention additionally, of course, the social media websites, the Oakmont Buzz and Nextdoor, provide residents with an opportunity for interaction. But typically of social media, these sites frequently contain a considerable amount of rumor and misinformation. Recognizing that improved communications are important to our community, and the future will increasingly rely on digital media, the Communications Committee has made it its mission to encourage and promote the use of modern technology as a basic means of communication among the residents, as stated in our recent revised charter. To this end, the Communications Committee is investigating the development of a separate website for the Oakmont News. To determine the feasibility of such a website, a study is in progress to define technical details, scope, and content, as well as the cost related to the project. Discussions with web developers and interested parties are underway. This site would not be a replacement for the paper edition, but would provide a means for quick dissemination of important and interesting news that occurs between editions of the paper without the limitations of space. To increase the viewership of the e-blast messages, the Communications Committee is developing a plan to solicit the cooperation of many Oakmont committees, clubs, and organizations to encourage their members to subscribe to the e-blast list. Already, the list has been enlarged from 350 to over 800 viewers. By using a free bulk email program named MailChimp, the list is easily and securely managed, and the messages are attractively presented. And lastly, the Communications Committee advocates an expanded use of video recording for important meetings and presentations, subject to the approval of the OVA Board of Directors by way of plan. The Communications Committee is advertising for volunteer committee members who possess skills in the particular areas of digital media. We hope to bring to the board a comprehensive recommendation for significantly improving communication to Oakmont in the very near future. I'll be glad to try to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Thank you for that summary, Judge, touching some really important points for us. Are there questions or comments from members of the board about how the Communications Committee is planning to proceed?
Dutch, you mentioned that you're planning to perhaps have a separate website just for the newspaper.
Yes.
Would that be accessible through the Oakmont website, though? Would there be a link?
Oh, of course. Of course, it would be accessible from the OBA website. But it would be a self-standing website built on a much simpler platform than the current website, and would be much easier for volunteers to make use of.
The other advantage, I understand, Herb, is that it moves it out from behind the password-protected access, which creates some problems.
I have a comment. I understand that Dutch and his organization pretty much cover all the expenses for what they do. And I think that OVA should be taking a look-see, and since it is such a benefit to the community, that what we should do to pick up our share of the cost and not have him pay for it.
Well, Herb, I'd like to correct you a little bit. I mean, the OVA does pay for a good portion of the cost. I make a personal contribution. I don't charge for my time, but I do pay some additional time for what I do.
But I think your point is a good one. I think when we get a recommendation from the Communications Committee about expanding the meeting recording activity that we authorized last April, that we'll have a chance to address the question of what OVA's contribution should be. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. President, pardon me, but I have a question for the lady, Jean, is it?
Anita?
Anita, excuse me, regarding the pickleball, and you're talking about you've got a place selected right out here, where the putting green is. Right now, if I'm not mistaken, that putting green, land was given to us by the OGC, and the OGC now takes care of mowing it and taking care of that for us. Is that correct?
That's half right.
Okay.
It was not given to us by the OGC. It's part of Mr. Berger's initial identification of this Berger Center property.
Right.
But we have had an exchange of Oakmont News publication pages for the maintenance of the green.
Right, for the maintenance of the green. So if we're going to sit there and regrade it or do any changes to it, do we want to get, before we go any further in that area, should we get OGC involved in saying, okay, hey, we're going to be doing this, but we're still going to need to have a green mode if we ever put a green there again? You see what I'm saying with that?
I think that's a good question to refer to the committee.
See what I'm getting at, Anita?
OGC already.
Okay, good.
Well, on that subject, if I can, and I know you have a discussion later, the idea came up in Petonk with a couple of us that there probably won't be enough room, but because pickleball requires fences, it may kind of block a view for people sitting in the swimming pool. We could maybe give up the Petonk court and put all the pickleball into the area first looked at between the maintenance building and Benson's office, and put the Petonk courts out near the putting green. Just an idea to consider, because there might be more room there to put Petonk courts and less obtrusive, and give up the entire space that now has unused shuffleboard, which still leaves that problem, and Petonk courts. Just an idea, Anita. So I know I'm out of order, but I wondered if I could just squeeze in the fact that the OCDC has taken in 2 new members whom we would like to be able to attend our April meeting, because we have a lot on our slate. And I'd like to announce that, but I know you have to vote on it. So that's something that I did email, but I didn't make it on your agenda. Up to you, Mr. Chairman.
We have your email. It got to us too late to put on the agenda, so you just have to operate in the sub rosa. But please include those talented people in your deliberation.
Okay. They will
We'll
be...
put it officially on the agenda for approval next time.
Okay, thank you very much.
What do we have next? Item 10A, thank you. The Plaza Project Phase 2. You have in your packet the recommendation from the Finance Committee to spend up to $166,000 to complete the area to the north side of the Burger Center. The plaza directly out here beside us. It is recommended now because it ties in with the completion of the portion of the plaza to the east. $166,000 in the Finance Committee recommendation includes a use of the new contract recommended by our manager with the Hardy Construction Company. It includes the additional civil engineering work with Hogan. It includes the additional landscape supervision work with Lori Cagwin. And then there's the project manager services, all in that $166,000. Do I have a motion to approve the Finance Committee's recommendation of $166,000 to complete the plaza work around the Burger Center? Moved by John Belton, seconded by Herm Hess. Discussion? All in favor? Go ahead with it. Item 10B is the replacement of the administration's office computer system server. We have a recommendation from the Finance Committee that the board spend up to $10,000 to replace the admin server equipment and the related software with funds coming from the Asset Replacement Fund, lines 19.08. Do I have a motion to approve the Finance Committee recommendation to spend up to $10,000 to replace the administration office computer server and software? Moved by Jim Kaiser, seconded by Evelyn George. Discussion?
Quick question. Chuck, was this on our reserve study for a certain amount?
Yes, and I don't remember the exact amount. I believe it was for more than this.
And in my understanding, Chuck, if you have an explanation from your meeting, that the present system is just no longer adequate and it's aged out in terms of its service.
Certainly the hardware is, but more importantly, the software won't be supported as well. And the current PCs within the office are all using different versions of software, which makes it very hard to work from one PC to another. So this will resolve all of that.
So the technological age has moved beyond what we have.
It moves fast.
Other comments or questions? All in favor? Motion passed unanimously. The next item is the Finance Committee's recommendation to the board to accept the donation of a tennis ball machine for use at the East Recreation Center. Because it's a donation, it would not be placed in the Asset Reserve Fund, and it will not be replaced at the end of its life. The Finance Committee further recommends spending up to $1,500 to install a storage shed that would be appropriate to house this new piece of equipment plus the existing equipment that has been used for the tennis court maintenance in a smaller form. Do I have a motion to accept the donation and to approve up to $1,500 to install the storage shed?
Mr. President, I so move.
Thank you, Fran. You looked into this with the tennis club people and the maintenance manager?
Yes, actually, Mark Rogers and Neil and myself went out to look at the facilities at the East Activity Center. And there is a shed out there at the present time that Mark said could easily be adapted to handle this machine. It would have to be extended for approximately a foot and a half, and possibly an addition to the roof of the shed. But in the meantime, the papers were filed for accepting a donation and approved, as you see on your agenda. At that time, the Finance Committee made the recommendation, or they approved, I should say, that money should be made available for securing either a new shed or repairing the one that is there. The amount before us was $1,500, and I so move that this be approved.
Is there a second? Reverend George seconds it. Discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I think we should note that the donor for this is Mr. Rogers, is that correct?
Yes.
All right, so he's the one that's making this donation to the OVA. And the fact that he also said that he would maintain the maintenance on that machine as long as he's still on the right side of the grass.
And can enjoy it.
That's right.
Yes, and there will be, with this approval, there will be appropriate letter of appreciation to them for that position.
And Mr. President, this is a brand-new machine. So there are two machines in existence at the West Activity Center, and one, the new one will be at the East.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Oh, wait a minute. I should have looked.
Neil Lunaball, 331 Meadow Ridge Lane. I think the question was asked, who is making the donation of the machine? It's actually Vince Taylor. Vince Taylor.
Did you vote on it? Item 10D is the recommendation of the Finance Committee to spend up to $5,000 for an engineer's survey and plan for siting, possible siting of future pickleball courts. My understanding that the precise dimensions of the property on which the horseshoe pits and the putting green are now located has not been specifically marked off. And all we have is a Google image of that particular piece of property. And so that these funds are to properly identify those boundaries and stake them for the purpose of proceeding with further planning. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do I have a motion to, and who's going to do this work?
Ken Carr from Hogan Land Services. He's going to do the engineering service, but I would not approve the $2,550. Wait, this is the wrong page. Do you have the correct page? Okay, we're winging it. It's his proposal, I believe, this work is costing $100. And there was a second phase to it, and it was in the realm of $3,000. And that was actually place it on a schematic. And I felt that that was an unnecessary expense because I believe that whoever we give this project to certainly has capabilities and would be the logical person to make that kind of a, I grant to make that kind of judgment.
So what would we be approving so far as Hogan Civil Service?
Identifying and taking that in.
And how much is that? $1,900.
Yeah.
So may I have a motion to authorize just the survey work by Hogan Land Services for $1,900? Moved by Herm Herman, seconded by Herm Hess. Discussion? All in favor? Motion passes for $1,900. The Finance Committee had a very busy agenda this month, and they have they have a further recommendation regarding making repairs to the Burger Center heating and ventilating system. As I read the documents from Matrix, these are things that they have identified since taking over our maintenance service, and charged $7,000 to make the repairs that are described in the document in your package on page 99 and 100. So I have a motion to approve the Finance Committee recommendation to spend up to $7,000 to make these Burger Center HVAC repairs. Moved by Evelyn George, seconded by Herman Hess.
I have a question.
Fire away now that it's second.
I know there are three parts to this work. And Chuck, your approval said that the funds were available from such and such and such and such. When I look at what's being done, it isn't just air conditioning within an IVAC in the Burger Center. There's work being done at the West Rec on
microphone.
Work being done at the West Rec on motor fan belt. Now, if you're in the Burger Center, you're replacing pressure gauge, and when you get to another part of the Burger Center, you're replacing the exhaust fans in the bathroom. At the West Rec, you're doing this fix of the belt on this exhaust fan. All I'm asking is, when you made the approvals from that particular line, did that include everything that's here?
Line 13.62 says HVAC miscellaneous components with a total original cost of $54,000, so it was pretty extensive, pretty broad.
The only thing I'm saying is what's described in your committee recommendation is somewhat different than the actual work that's done. So I'm not contesting the work that's going to be done. It looks like it's all grouped under this one effort. So I'm just saying, when you authorize the funds, did you consider that?
I don't really know how to answer your question. The work is in the Burger Center.
Well, no. Okay. There's the work in the Burger Center, but then there's also the work being done in the West Rec.
Chuck, I think that what's being overlooked is that $5,749 is the Burger Center, but $1,135 is at the West Rec.
That's correct.
No, we did not realize it was two separate facilities. We didn't realize it was two separate facilities.
The amount of money is correct, but it's in two separate locations. Burger Center.
It'll come out of two separate accounts.
Well, yes, we'd split it.
So would you be sure that management knows that you've got different coding for the departments? All in favor? Or Jim?
No, our maintenance manager's not here. He probably had the answer to that.
Unfortunately, his wife is having surgery. So they tell us. All in favor? Thank you. Next item is a recommended common area large tree survey. Finance Committee recommends that the board spend up to $2,800 for a health survey of trees, primarily in the west area along the PAR activity trail. Is the best way I can define the location. And they recommend that this survey be paid from the operating account as opposed to any kind of asset replacement or capital improvement fund. Do I have a motion to approve the Finance Committee recommendation? Motion made by Herm Hess. Is there a second? Seconded by Herm Herman. Questions about this procedure?
Now, it talks in this, about the park course hill, the trees there, but I believe what we're talking about is all trees on Oakmont property, aren't we?
This is just in that west area? Yes. And why just there, then, I guess is the question.
It was determined that that section has been the most controversial, and it has had the most requests for fire suppression. And to the extent that we have to look at the fire suppression issue there, and really not in any other hill that I'm aware of to that extent, we wanted to analyze and get a program developed for maintaining those trees or removing diseased trees for that area. If we did all of the trees throughout Oakmont, there's probably 20,000 trees in Oakmont, so that would be a considerably bigger expense. It's not to say we couldn't do this, but maybe let's try this area and then see what develops from that.
I think you're talking about that area of trees that go along the fitness trail.
Yes.
Further discussion?
Yes, one more comment. Just to add to that, there are trees there that are going to be very prone to sudden oak death. That happened with an evaluation about 18 months ago on my property, as well as the neighbor, and trees that are up in the ridge area behind my home, which follows part of that park course. So I think that this money is probably well spent.
I have a question, Cassie. This, they say they're going to locate an inventory of approximately 250 native ornamental trees. Are they going to be provided something like a map of where these trees are at?
Well, they're going to inventory it. I don't know if they're actually going to do a mapping.
Okay.
As I recall, there was a discussion about having GPS coordinates on the tree location, so that precludes the necessity of having a map.
All in favor?
Could we repeat the motion exactly how it was worded, please?
The motion is to spend up to $2,800 for a health survey of the trees with the funds coming from the operating account.
But it's not specific as to where those trees are. No, I mean, the motion.
Please, Ken.
Just add along the west parkway.
I didn't repeat it correctly. Along the west park. Thank you. All in favor? Passed. Finance Committee further recommends that we spend up to $6,000 to replace the damaged movie video screen in Room B of the Central Activity Center, with the funds coming from the Asset Replacement Fund, line 1642, 16.42. Evidently, that screen has been improperly operated and forced into opening and closing that's caused wrinkling to the screen. And so this is a repair item for that proper operation. Do I have a motion to authorize spending up to $6,000 to replace the screen in Activities Room B at the Central Activity Center?
So moved.
Moved by Jim Kaiser, seconded by Herm Herman. Discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So we're saying that the reason why this has to be replaced or repaired is because of improper operation?
Yes.
So then why are we spending good money after bad? I mean, we put another one in there, aren't they going to misoperate that one and do the same thing?
I think that,
I mean, we should be looking at what the root cause of the problem is, number one. Number two, is it really necessary to have that in there?
Well, Jim, I understand that initially there was like a ledge or a rack to put march lot, in the racer for the board and back of it, and the rack was it wasn't low enough. The screen would come down to it, so it would come down not level. The rack has since been, so that, I don't know if that would solve the problem necessarily, I'm certain.
Mr. President, yes. I'm looking at the amount of money for labor, and it's in excessive. Is there a chance that we could get another bid on this? I mean, this seems really over the top. The screen itself doesn't seem a lot, but when the labor is almost as much as the screen just to hang it, it seems like a lot of money, $1,800.
can you elaborate at all?
No, this was Mark's project, I really can't, but we can certainly just get another quote.
Is there a desire on the part of the board to table this item until we can get some further explanation?
Yes, I would like to find out what the root cause is exactly and what we're going to do to prevent it from happening again.
Can I have a motion to table?
I so moved.
Okay. All in favor? Carry that forward then, please. Item 10H involves the appointment of an inspector for our election activity on the 7th and 8th of April. Jim Ernst of James Ernst Accounting has been the inspector of elections for us previously, as well as doing our audit work. Do you have a charge for that?
No, it's just that you need to do a formal motion to appoint them as election inspector.
We have a motion to appoint James Ernst to the Inspector of Election tasks, which involve both the certification of a quorum at our annual meeting on the 7th and to supervise the ballot counting and results recording on April the 8th.
So moved.
Moved by Jim Kaiser, seconded by Herm Hess. All in favor? Thank you. And item 10I, I had Chuck Chenault's name when I put the agenda together on here, but actually it's a reflection of our discussion at the workshop about accepting the proposal from Reserve Analysis Consulting, our ongoing reserve study specialist, $1,250 to do the 2015 updated reserve study without a site visit. I have a motion to that.
So moved.
Moved by Jim Kaiser, seconded by Herm Hess. For those of you that did not attend our workshop, we discussed the possibility of skipping over this last without a site visit in the 3-year cycle and going immediately to a full site visit reserve study, which is considerably more expensive. And we decided that the committee, that the board would be well advised to utilize our last without a site visit study at this time, but develop a board appointed committee to give us further research into several aspects of that asset department, of that reserve study process. Do I have a motion? Did I ask for the motion? All in favor? Glad I've got lots of help. We have a new proposed communications committee charter. Do I have a motion to approve the charter revision submitted by the communications committee? Moved by Evelyn George, seconded by Fran Diaz. Discussion?
Just a quick question. We came up with some problems regarding some policies on advertising, political advertising. I don't know that this is, whether the charter is a place to handle that problem or not, or whether that should be a separate subject.
There is a separate document being prepared by the Communications Committee looking into the publication policy.
Thank you.
And that will come before us. All in favor? Motion passed. The next item is an owner's request to waive the late fee balance. Do you have anything to elaborate on regarding this?
I believe this is the second time she's asked for forgiveness of late fees. And I believe that you can forgive the late fees, but I don't know if you can ask CFM to forgive the charges for the letters. A issue that's related but not related is this individual is currently sent to the attorney for a CCNR violation for underage people living in the property.
Do I have any sense of motion that any member of the board wants to make in regard to this? We have a request to eliminate a late fee charge, yet we have an unresolved problem with that same owner regarding unqualified residents.
I, for one, am not in the mood to approve any relief
Well,
for the late charge.
okay, I move that we do not approve the request, the request is presented for.
I have a motion to deny the request for a late fee. Seconded by Herm Herman. Pardon. Any more discussion on that? Yes, sir.
I feel very much the same as Mr. Herman. It's one thing to request a special dispensation for something like this. However, I would expect it would come from somebody who was a member in good standing, other than, there are a number of things that can put you in, other than good standing. One of them, of course, was being arrears, and such as that. But if somebody is not in good standing for other reasons, and such as this case, it's alleged that there are people that are living in the home that are, for some time, that are below our acceptable age. I'm not personally too inclined to cut somebody a break who's not in good standing to begin with.
We need a motion on the, pardon me, a vote on the motion to deny the request for waiver of the late fee. All in favor?
Just a question, what are we doing about the underage?
It's in Malcolm.
It's in Malcolm, and
Sending her a letter.
Item 10L is the request for approval to refer delinquent account for collection. I have a motion to refer the account for collection.
So moved.
Moved by Jim Kaiser, seconded by John Felton. Discussion? All in favor? Council votes election. Item 10M is on the agenda at the request of a resident regarding bylaw change. Is Ms. Lucia here and want to comment on the request? To help the community understand, you have an attachment to your agenda which describes the reason the way things are, the way they are. Are there any questions or comments from the audience? Does this help you with the background as to why we operate with one vote per roof?
As you stated in this summary on the back, this subject comes up every few years. I think it was in 2008 that we had a committee that was led by Bill Boyd to discuss this. You know, what surprises me when older people want to change the bylaws on this subject, because I think that people should understand that your job, of course, is to watch out for the common areas and to make sure that our home values don't slip because of poor management of our common areas. It has nothing to do with civil rights or anything like that. It's your property that votes. The other thing that always comes to mind for me is that we are a 55 and over community. People coming into our community at the younger age very often have more than one person in their household. They come in married to someone, and then at the other end of the spectrum, you lose a partner and you become a single householder, and it would be easy for a community like Oakmont to be quite overrun by the newer, younger people that come in with 2 votes and having just sold a great big house somewhere, and the other end of the spectrum where you only have 1 vote. And I think that kind of equalizes the situation. And I think it's good to vote your property and not the number of people in your household.
Thank you. In addition to the kind of numbers that are in the write-up that we prepared to share with you with today's agenda, some of you might additionally be interested to know that in the month of February, the billing that was done by CFM reports to us that 1,732, or 55% of Oakmont's total residents, are single, and only 1,411, or 45%, have 2 people in the organization paying dues. So it's just another one of those facts about our situation that have often caused boards to pause when they think about revising our documents. It would be very hard to expect that 1,732 individual residents would want to give up voting control to 1,411 residents who have 2 people living in the household, because that would immediately change the voting power of the association, giving 2-person residents 2,800 votes as opposed to the 1,732 for single residents. I'm not saying that's justified, I'm just saying it continues to present us with a barrier as far as making changes. The other thing that our manager discovered in looking into this issue is that not only is this practice under California Corporations Code unanimous in the state of California, whether you were formed 50 years ago like OBA, or whether you were formed recently like Trilogy at Rio Vista. It's also true in the other states across the country. We didn't find a single homeowner association that departs from this format as far as voting rights are concerned. The next item under item 11A is the petty cash policy. At our board meeting a month ago, we approved expanding the use of that petty cash. And we asked the manager to draw up a policy for administration of that. You have it on page 137 in your packet. I have a motion to adopt petty cash policy. Jim Kaiser, John Felton. Any questions of the manager about this? Discussion? All in favor? Thank you. Do any of you have recommendations for future board meeting agenda items?
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, I believe Herm Herman does, don't you, Herm? You got something for a future board?
If he does, he'll have to make it from the audience. Front row. Do we have a taskmaster list, Executive?
Yeah, Kathy reminds me thankfully that there was some reminder to recode the expenditure for the HVAC work that was going to be done at the West Rec Center. That was for Chuck.
And since we had our executive session before today's meeting, we don't have any further announcements about executive session.
I was just going to suggest that Jim and I walk in here with a cane and a quack, quack, quack. We're the ultimate lame ducks.
We're adjourned.
I have one comment.
We've adjourned.
We're going to miss Jim and Herman. And it's been a pleasure to have them on the board with us. And like I say, we really will miss you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.